Hi, Sam Bell here at Guitar Interactive Magazine, and I'm here today at the O2 Academy Islington with the amazing Nick Johnston.
Oh my gosh, the amazing Sam Bell, ladies and gentlemen. Good to see you, buddy.
Good to see you, man. Thank you for your time.
Of course. Yeah.
We've got a limited amount. You've just got to go for a sound check.
Yes,
so
it's very quick, but of course I would always make time for my good buddy. So, yes.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, man. So I've noticed that you're just probably one of the busiest instrumental guitar artists that I've seen ever. Actually,
Wow.
You've literally just come back from
Singapore. I was in China for 2 weeks, and then went to Singapore at the end of the tour for a couple guitar clinics, and then I flew home on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I flew out for this tour. So, and then before that, I did a clinic tour with Tosin, and then I was on a tour with Pliny, and it's been hectic, my man, but fantastic.
It's really inspiring to see, actually, and one of the main things I'd like to talk about is how guitar instrumental music has been quite popular. It seems to be that you've been that busy because of the music you've created. Do you think there's any defining factors in why? Obviously, you're an incredible guitar player, incredible composer.
Thank you.
So I see you as a musician, not just the guitar player.
Oh, that's the goal. Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's tough to say. Obviously, the internet made it possible for people to find more of this music. Like, a lot of times you'd find the guy, like maybe you listen to Joe Satriani, but that was the only guy you knew. The internet's like, one of them, you know them all now, right? It's just like we're all doing this thing, and it's a bit of a lifestyle thing too. It's like playing guitar, posting on Instagram, showing what your life is like, hanging out with your buddies, like going on tour. It has this kind of appeal of like an all-encompassing lifestyle. It's interesting though, like I've kind of been lumped into this world, but musically, I don't do anything like what a lot of these other like my music's a lot more, I don't want to say boring is not the right word, but it's more melody and harmony focused rather than guitar driven stuff. Mm-hmm. But it's cool, like I've been finding the right fans, and I've kind of had that, slow burn type of thing. Like I've been doing this I'm 30 now, I've been doing the instrumental guitar thing for 12 years. I was doing it well before I was doing stuff online, but I've just kind of seen it slowly kind of bubble to the surface, so to speak. But I think something like instrumental guitar, it's appealing because the guitar just is, you break it down, it's a cool instrument, right? And you dedicate so much of your time. It usually attracts a certain kind of outsider or a certain type of person who feels marginalized or feels underrepresented. They tend to kind of maybe vicariously live through you a little bit, and then they develop their skills and they start writing music and they start to see how it works, and eventually they can see themselves in the same role. So it's kind of like, it's a lifestyle thing, it's something to strive towards, and at the end of the day, it's cool.
Yeah.
Has that indefinable kind of quality,
Well, I was thinking about the history of guitar instrumental music, and we go back to maybe like Django or Wes Montgomery, playing jazz instrumentals.
Yeah,
then you get the Shadows.
Yeah,
and then
I love the Shadows. Yeah,
and all that surf rocky
yeah.
era. And then we have the 80s with the Shrapnel guys doing the shred thing. And it seems like you're part of a movement now that you've got your very unique. Everyone's got their own unique stamps.
Yeah.
So you're playing tonight with Polyphia and Intervals.
Yeah.
Completely different styles of instrumental guitar.
Yeah.
But each of you have one thing in common, which I've noticed is melodic focus. And I noticed in your writing in particular, the melody is the most poignant thing, which to me it sounds almost like soundtracky sort of stuff, especially compared to I've listened to all for audio albums. I've followed you for a long while since Public Display of Infection, and seen a development.
Right.
And Remarkably Human, the latest album, seemed to be sort of it's kind of like a defining album now. I feel like the other albums are wicked.
Thank you.
Love them personally, and obviously you gain popularity, but now Remarkably Human seems to be your stamp. How do you feel?
Yeah.
How are you writing for anything else? Are you writing for another release, or have you had time?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's another good point. Do you have time? When I do sit down with the guitar now, it's usually I'm trying to think as a songwriter or a composer, so to speak. I don't necessarily think too much about the technique anymore. Just I'm comfortable with where I am at the moment, and that will change in a few months. But for now, it's just I want to continue on with developing my ear and developing just like my musical sense. Mm-hmm. Kind of like figuring out what I need or what I don't want or new things I want to add to the music. That's so important, and that's so difficult to develop. Remarkably Human, that album feels kind of complete. I don't know why. It just kind of, that's the way it came out. The first two albums, Public Display and The Locked Room on the Moon, stylistically they're all over the map. But that was kind of who I was.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I was writing. I didn't know what my playing was yet. I didn't use single coils on those albums. Oh, the first album I didn't. And Atomic Mind comes around, you start to hear a little bit more development. Then Remarkably Human was like, okay, there's a direction now.
Yeah.
Which is good and bad. There's, it's cool to have no direction. It's cool to have some. It's cool to have entire direction. But the next thing is going to be, I've got about halfway through it. It's going to be even kind of further in that direction. A little bit more experimental and a lot of different sounds. Like the one thing I've never really messed with was anything other than guitar, bass, and drums. The first three records, then piano, and the fourth record, a little bit of organ. I want a whole bunch of different stuff on the next one.
Okay.
Just really layer it and kind of just not overproduce it, but produce it a lot more. We'll see what happens.
Great.
That could change by the time this tour is over, though.
Yeah, that's great. I actually got a couple of questions regarding the writing process, and one of the burning questions I had was, obviously your compositions are, melodically, the melody flows throughout all of them. There's no kind of section sort of feel.
Right.
The melody flows and it's like a piece of string going through the song.
Cool, man.
And everything goes with it. And
Cool.
that's also, it works dynamically.
Right.
So there's obviously a lot of attention to detail goes into that, or do you find that just comes out naturally? Do you end up with lots of songs that you don't use?
Yeah. Oh, tons. You're probably the same way, right? Like you just.
Well, I'm asking this actually for a bit of selfish reasons as well,
cool.
because
Yeah.
I often find myself stuck with one or two songs, and I think some people might find they end up cannibalizing one idea too much because they sit there just. Where could it go?
Absolutely, yeah. My whole thing is always like I'm always open to trying to be creative. Like I always sit down with, see what happens. If nothing comes out, at least my mind was in the right place. The next day maybe something. I always look at it like I started writing music, when I was 16, and I've been releasing records since I was 23. I have a very long life left to live, hopefully. So there's a pretty good chance I'll write more music at some point. It's like odds are in my favor. So I never really worry. I've never really worried too much about that. I never worry about am I repeating myself. I just play and I work on stuff, and at some point something new happens. Mm-hmm. I travel a lot now, so I have a different perspective on things, and I have different things I value and different things I pay attention to. So my ear is changing, even like seeing other musicians in different parts of the world. I was in, I think it's called Jiaxing, a city in China, a couple weeks ago, and I played this venue, and they had their kind of local guitar hero come up, and local guitar in their small town was like a town with 3 million people, right? So it's like, wow, this guy's gonna be great. And this guy comes up and he starts playing like kind of Hendrixy stuff, and you're like, I didn't see that one coming. And that was interesting. It's like I was all the way in mainland China expecting someone playing some traditional music. He starts playing like Hendrix stuff, like licks, and you're like, wow, that's really interesting. So, that's their approach to playing modern electric guitar. That's their approach to it. And you just have a different view on how everyone thinks about the guitar, depending on where geographically everyone has a different approach to it. Mm-hmm. And cliches kind of go out the window. So I look at it like you just do what you do, and at some point your next thing will come along. Sometimes I go months without anything, like literally 6 months, and not a single usable scrap will come out. But then all of a sudden I'll get home from a tour and I'll write 3 of the best pieces of music I've ever written. I don't know why, I don't know how, but it just kind of happens. Do you find that you write? Do you do things to get inspired? Do you listen to certain things? I noticed there's the comic book kind of aesthetics. A lot of what you do. That was a huge focus back in the day, and that's still kind of carried over a little bit more. Yeah, that used to be a huge catalyst for just that's kind of like my. I call that like the Peter Pan syndrome, like never wanting to grow old, like being surrounded by comic, like all this kind of stuff. And that was, it makes you feel good, makes you be inspired. But now, no, I don't draw. I draw more so from life, like just you're in a certain place, you feel a certain thing, you're like, how do I capture this? And sometimes you get it, and sometimes you're way off, and you never get it.
Okay.
But at the same time, I have no real process. I just if something's good, if I get that feeling in my gut, like that kind of rumbling where it's like, wow, that's like the butterfly feeling, I know it's good. I don't question it. If I don't get that, I'm not going to pursue it.
Yeah. This sounds like kind of a strange question. So, do you ever get, when you're creating an idea, sort of an image behind what you're doing? Do you have like a place, a time?
Sometimes, yeah.
Do you ever write with that in mind, or?
It's hard. I mean, it's hard to say. Not really. No, not really. I'm of the kind of belief that writing music is like the ultimate, for me, the ultimate expression of what I do. Like, you can hear how I think, you can hear how I approach music, you can hear my ears, everything. But at the same time, the opposite of that is it's just music. Like, I don't overthink it. If it sounds good, it's good.
Yeah.
And I just love playing guitar so much that at some point something new will come out. It's just, the odds are in my favor in that respect, And
I think something that makes you stand out in particular is you do have phenomenal technique, and you've got your own voice with it though as well. So it's not like, I've got this pattern, here it is.
Yeah,
it seems
that dates yourself so fast, It really does. It's like you can hear, that's the kind of guitar player he was in 2016 in July. It's like he was working on that lick, so I hear it in that song. Cool,
So it's more to you. That's definitely an afterthought, but you managed to also have that outstanding guitar, the virtuoso thing, kind of happening as well in your music.
Yeah, I guess that's and you would know the same in your own playing. It's like it's a part of who you are, right? Like you can't deny that. I love playing flashy stuff. It's just it feels good. Like it physically. It's like it releases something in your brain. You're like, it feels really good. And also, I spent so long working on it. It's just like that's literally how I play guitar. Yeah. How I post videos, I post licks and stuff. I'm not trying to do that. That's how I play guitar. That's like if I was gonna play guitar, that's it. So that's kind of where all that stuff comes from. It's part of me. Yeah. The flip side is like the melodies. I want those strong singable melodies with interesting harmony. But then when it's time to play guitar, it's like. That's how I play guitar.
Yeah. Great. Cool. And you pull it off live as well. We see loads of videos of you doing this on stage and improvising. It's very, very natural. So it's kind of, nowadays I feel like there's not many guitar players who are willing to take those risks, so to speak. And you managed to do it, and it sounds like it's amazing. Is that? Thank you. You obviously have a live playing background as well as being the guitar instrumental guy.
Absolutely. I played in a bunch of different bands that were extremely out of my comfort zone. I played rhythm guitar in a world music band for a long time. I was doing a lot of acoustic gigs where I had to kind of play 3 or 4 hour sets, and sometimes I wouldn't have enough material, so I would just improvise and like outline chord changes and stuff for like a whole set. But a lot of that stuff came from doing all those guitar clinics. Like, how do I go into a guitar clinic that's interesting and not just me playing a song? How do I just play guitar? Like, go up in front of people and just show us what you do when you're at home. Like, just play guitar. And eventually that evolved to a point now where I derive more pleasure sometimes from that than actually playing the songs. Yeah. Which is kind of unfortunate, but it's a freeing, it's a release, and I did one of those types of things last. I was here in July with Animals as Leaders. We played at a venue called Coco.
Yep. Oh wow! Venue. Amazing venue. Yeah.
And it was just like to go up and just improvise unaccompanied, just play in a room full of like, whatever, it was 2,000 people. Just play guitar. Like everyone disappeared. I just played. It was the most like. It just felt so fucking good. So yeah, that's a huge part of what I do. Just because, again, that's how I play guitar. That's what I do when I'm at home. That's exactly how I would do it. Yeah.
So I think the lesson I've learned from hearing you play, as an artist myself, is that you should always embrace what you find unique about yourself, and actually, follow that path and not be afraid of that and developing that, and then you get results like Nick Johnston.
It's hard to follow that path sometimes because you don't know if it's the right one. Like what you're doing, you don't know if that's going to be accepted, or you don't know if that's what people want to hear. But at some point, you find a fan base, and if this sounds weird, but if your stuff is good, and I don't know what that means, good, but if your stuff is quality and it sounds good and it has some sort of emotional drag to it or weight to it, I mean, people are going to like it. People are going to hear it. There's enough room for everybody. That's the beautiful thing about this. There's enough room for every single person to do this. So,
talking of that, I'm going to start with, I know you've got a little bit of time before your sound check, but what advice would you give then to somebody? What what if you could go back in time?
Yeah.
And sort of tell yourself to do something slightly. I mean, that's a weird question to ask in that way, but advice.
I mean, my advice to a younger musician who wants to do this is, first of all, it's so important to be okay with knowing that music owes you nothing. It owes you absolutely nothing. And the people that you've seen have had rocket ship levels of success. Just bam, 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 bam. That's not going to happen to everybody. It's just sometimes it's a fluke and it happens. Also, self-awareness is so incredibly important. I see so many young guitar players and musicians that release stuff and they didn't actually, like, is it good? Is it really good? Like, did you think about that? Mm-hmm. I waited until I was in my mid-20s to release anything because I didn't know I didn't have anything to say. I had nothing to say. And when it was released, I still didn't know what to do with it. It was like, I released something and then, well, now what? It's like the hard work was promoting it. It's like that should have been a pleasure. Like I should have been, I released this thing, I'm so happy with it, now I get to share it with the world. It was more like I released this thing and now, oh my god, now I would suggest wait until you're actually ready and you have something to say and you have a style and you feel like it's time, you know, and play in front of people as much as possible. That's the quickest way to figure out what kind of guitar player you are, what you need, what you don't need, and just develop confidence and develop just a sense of performance and get over any of those kind of anxieties and realizing it's okay to screw up. I mean, there's so many things I could advise. I mean, the advice goes on for days, but really it comes down to wait until you have something to say and, just be ready. Because when you start, it's like it should never stop.
Yeah.
It should never, ever stop.
Great.
But if you ask me that next week, I don't know, maybe I have a different answer. That's the thing with a creative industry. It's like there's no hard fast rule for anything.
Yeah.
The climate's changing constantly. I don't have a manager, I don't have a label, I don't have anything. Mm-hmm. So it's like, could I have done that 5 years? Probably not. But now I can. And then 5 years from now, who knows what I'll be doing then. So it's like, just, I guess, write good music, be ready, and be confident and realize music doesn't owe you anything, you know.
Great advice.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'm going to let you go.
Yeah, cool, man.
But thank you so much for your time.
Dude, anytime, seriously. Yeah,
it's a pleasure.
My pleasure.
And I hope the rest of the tour goes smoothly.
Yes, day one, we'll see what happens.
It's just fascinating just seeing you. You just arrived today and you were looking fresh, and it's amazing how you keep that up. It's great.
I try not to think about it. You just do it. At some point, you get a shower and a few hours of sleep and back at it.
Amazing. Well, looking forward to hearing what you do next. Looking forward to tonight's show.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you for your time.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Great. Sam Bell here, Guitar Interactive with Nick Johnston. We'll see you soon. Thank you.